Back here with Matt Norlander and Tim Doyle. And look, this is going to be a fantastic game. If today was any indication of what we might get tomorrow, we might get an awesome game. And a lot of the times, Tim, as you know, Matt, as you know as well, sometimes this Big Ten title game doesn't have, sometimes you're like, well, okay, it's a game and we'll do the highlight later and then we'll talk about it. Tomorrow's game, it matters, Tim.
No doubt about it. So, Matt, I'll let him dive into the seeds a little bit more. I know this is when Jerry Palm gets out the Bunsen burner and the graduated cylinder and he's moving all the picks around and seeds around. I'll let you guys dive into that, but more into the matchup. I remember this first matchup because it was a significant statement game for Michigan. Even though Wisconsin was unranked to start the year, this was the game that got national attention for the Twin Towers. This was the game where Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden started working their magic, as we saw late in the Maryland game, in that pick and roll. And we were like, wow, this Danny Wolf guy, this is translating from Yale over to Michigan. That was the game for me, Matt, that put Danny Wolf on the national front. Now, Wisconsin in that game, they lost by 3. They were 6 of 27 from 3. So far in the Big Ten tournament, they've made 36 threes in 3 games. That's 12 a game. They have not turned the ball over, less than 10 per game on average. I think they're playing their best basketball. I know Michigan, they play so many close games. It's been a theme for them. They were losing them, then they were winning them. It's just been their model all season long. But if I had to give a pick in this game, I like the Badgers.
Yeah, no, it should be a tremendous game. Michigan's turnovers have been a serious issue for most of the season. This is a good team inside the three-point arc. Wolverines are ranking top 10 nationally in two-point accuracy. Wisconsin's the #1 free throw shooting team in the country, by the way. So if this game does wind up being close, that kind of reliability at the charity stripe could wind up being a big factor. Obviously, the two Johns are the names to know and to keep an eye on in this game, and also for Wisconsin once we get to the big bracket. I mean, John Tonje has been a borderline first-team All-American level player, and the way that he actually helped clinch the win over MSU on Saturday was incredible. I just can't remember a lot of sequences. He swipes the ball loose from Jace Richardson, doesn't get the foul call, and gets it done. Him and John Blackwell have been tremendous overall. As for the seeding, here's my view on it as we're right here in the thick of Saturday. I think Wisconsin's got to feel pretty good about securing itself on the 3 line. Yep. I don't think it can get up to the 2. So I think Wisconsin, by nature of getting this win, and regardless of what happens here, my guess is it's going to wind up being a 3 when we get the big bracket at 6 p.m. Eastern on CBS with the selection show. For Michigan, it does feel like the Wolverines, if they can win the title game on Sunday, and keep in mind, the selection committee will go into the afternoon on Sunday with the potential for a couple of different kind of brackets. We don't know this to be the case. It may or may not be the situation, but there is a scenario in which the selection committee may say, okay, we got everything settled except for one thing. If Michigan wins the title game, we're going to put them as a 4. If they don't, maybe keep them on the 5 line. That matters in this regard, too. And it gets a little bit tricky with so many SEC teams here. But if you are seeded 1, 2, 3, or 4, for the most part, if the committee can do you the favor in the first weekend, you don't have to travel far. You will play Cleveland has a first weekend site.
Yep.
So if Michigan can beat Wisconsin, I think it will have a case to be on the 4 line. And if it's on the 4 line, it will have a chance, although it is no guarantee, that it would then merely have to make the short trip down to Cleveland. So keep that in mind from a bracket perspective. From a game perspective, guys, this looks to be tremendous. And, yeah, a lot of good skill for Wisconsin, a lot of good skill for Michigan. Really, really cool stuff. Guard, at this point, he's a decade into his career with the Badgers. And Dusty May in year 1, making some big moves with that program after coming over from FAU.
Before I get your pick to win this Big Ten championship, let's give Maryland a little love here. This is a phenomenal team. They ended the day on the 3 line, Matt. So with this loss, are you talking seed scrubbing? Does that bump them down to a 4 or a 5? And it's basically Michigan and Maryland perhaps switching lines.
Now, there's a chance that Michigan and Maryland could be switching lines. I don't think. See, a loss against a team like Michigan. I want to really emphasize this for our viewers. This is the final data point for Maryland's resume. It is one. You see the record there, 25-8. There are 33 data points on the resume. The selection committee, as it goes deep into Saturday night and it looks at resumes, it is not a loss here. While it maybe Palm had him as a 3 coming in, it's not unthinkable that they drop down to a 4. But losing to a quality team that could also be a top 4 seed, you don't want to outsize the importance of the result. It's just another one. It's not a bad loss. It does put a certain ceiling on Maryland's capability within the bracket, but Terps are a really good team. They got one of the best starting fives in the country, the Crab Five. Derek Queen was incredible. I mean, Derek Queen had, and I've seen him having some amazing games this season. I think he had his best game in a college uniform. He is a joy to watch and will be among, I mean this, he will be among the 4 or 5 most must-see players in the NCAA tournament. College hoops is loaded with studs and stars this year. The tournament's going to be phenomenal with how many different kinds of guys play and how they go about their business on the floor, but Queen's among the best of them.
31 points for Derek Queen. Tim, I don't know if you know this. I don't know this. I'm not sure. Maybe Matt knows this. Does he have an NIL deal with Dairy Queen?
I do not believe so.
And if he doesn't, he needs to get one with Dairy Queen. Also, maybe get him a little sponsorship here with.
Well, he's trying to stay slim though. That's the thing. I did a whole feature on Queen. I went down to College Park. He's just trying to keep that fit trim. So I'm not saying he should go get that bag.
Yeah.
But you know, they're trying not to eat too much ice cream. You know, he's trying to prep for his next step to the NBA.
Maybe he can get a sponsorship with Fresh Pet. That takes us to the Fresh Takes. Fresh Pet. Time now for that. It's not dog food. It's food. So Tim, feed me some food here. Who you got here? Who you got in this championship game in Indianapolis?
I have Wisconsin. I think that they're going to learn from that first matchup. Now you got to go back in the time machine when they played back on December 3rd. I mean, geez, that was like forever ago, and teams change throughout the season. But I think Wisconsin has changed for the better. You know, the thing about the transfer portal now, and think about Wisconsin, wasn't ranked, lost their best player to Kansas. He ended up transferring. They really understand their roles, and they have a superstar. I was curious to see how Tanjay backed up his performance against UCLA, where he was nearly flawless. He was 9 of 10 from the field. The team banged down 19 threes, and I went, wow, like, can't play much better than that. And then he went out there, and he was better than that in the biggest spot. So I think Wisconsin understands their roles. I think they have to figure out how to handle the pick and roll better. Matt, that was a disaster up in Madison. Wolf, Golden, they had their ways. I'm not saying you have to wipe those guys out, but you have to slow them down. I think Wisconsin rolls in the spot.
Yeah, I don't know if it rolls, but I do like Wisconsin as well. I think overall it's a more dependable team, more dependable roster. Now, it was up and down in the final couple of weeks. Win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. But it seems to have found itself. Man, that was the way that Wisconsin beat Michigan State on Saturday, I thought was so reaffirming for this team's potential. Offensively, it's been incredible. And Greg Gard, how he's been able to get this program going really, really well. Remember, a 5 seed a year ago, lost in the first round to James Madison. And it was a good team, but it had some flaws, and then they get picked off by a super hot mid-major. This team is a little bit better than that team. I think it's going to wind up winning because I wonder if Michigan can afford to have another game where it turns it over 13, 14, 15 times. It's a major flaw for the Wolverines. Wisconsin rates better in the metrics there, so I'll go with Bucky to get it done, which I believe, Hakeem, if they do that, 2015, Frank Kaminsky, Frank the Tank, last time they won the Big Ten tournament.
It is. That's a fact.
There we go.
You got the Badgers and you got the Wolverines. Yeah. I wonder which one win in the field, like out in the wild.
That's a good question.
I'd probably go Wolverine.
I don't know.
Wolverines are nasty.
Yeah, I'd go Wolverine.
And you can feed them food, not dog food. You can feed them food. That's been Fresh Takes presented by Fresh Pet. It's not dog food, it's food. Tim Doyle, Matt Norlander, 3:30 Eastern, the Big Ten Conference Championship game on CBS and streaming live on Paramount+.